Oh, yeah, you could.
Yeah, she told me a long time ago I could, but you know what? I'm getting to the point where it's like crazy. I got it.
It's pretty darn long.
Okay, Shannon, let's go on the record.
All right, you too, man.
See you, Judge.
Have a good day, Brad.
Can I get out this way or?
Yes, you can.
Okay, we are on the record. Good afternoon, Chad. How are you?
Good, Your Honor. How are you?
Good.
Oh, it's probably, you can go in my office. Did you leave it there?
Okay, let's see what we got here. Looks like Mr. Rankin on a couple of cases, Smith versus Rankin and Waldo versus Rankin. Is Mr. Rankin present?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's see, Chad, I got some summaries from you.
Yep,
Took a moment to.
Look at that, on the analysis, that makes sense. Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's see. Looks like on the Cheryl Sutton file, balance only, it looks like arrears of a little under $1,000. Last payment September 18th of $126.66. And on the Waldo file, let me see, do I have either of the plaintiffs present?
Your Honor, I'm sorry. Is the defendant here as well?
Yes, Mr. Rankin is present by telephone. And I don't know, ma'am, on the Galaxy A20, what is your name?
Ashley Waldo?
Oh, okay, so we have one of the plaintiffs present. So on the Waldo file, that is charging currently at $349 a month. Arrears over $3,000. Last payment September 18th.
Of last year, right?
Oh, of 2019, you're right, thank you. Okay, so, Mr. Rankin, let me ask you, are you working?
Yes.
Where are you working?
Choice Laboratories.
And how long have you worked for Choice Laboratories?
The first day was October the 5th.
Chad, do you have any information on this employer?
I do not, but I can get it as soon as we're done with the hearing and send in income withholding order.
All right, Mr. Rankin, do you have a address for Choice Laboratories?
I don't know the number address. It's on Phelps Drive in Jackson.
Is that a full-time position?
Yes.
And what's your rate of pay?
$12.
Did you notify the friend of the court of this employment?
I notified the friend of the court by mail like I was told to.
And when did you send that notice?
I started there on the 5th. I sent that.
You said you started there on the 5th. You sent it that day?
I submitted it on the 6th of October, correct. I mailed it out that day.
All right, apparently whatever it is hasn't resulted in a withholding order. How often are you paid?
Weekly.
All right, the recommendation I have here is to put you on a payment plan. Frankly, that would be only briefly. As soon as a wage withholding order takes effect, you would not have to make any voluntary payments. The recommendation is for $25 every other week on the 2002 file. That's the arrearage only. And a, let's see, 165 every other week. So on the 08 file. So what I'm going to do is order that you make those payments until you see child support being withheld from your paycheck. And as soon as you see child support being withheld from your paycheck, you won't have to make payments anymore. They'll all come out via the wage withholding order.
Copy.
So Chad, your recommendation, let's put that in effect until a wage withholding order is entered.
Yes, Your Honor.
Chad, you prepare that order for me?
Yes, Your Honor.
For those two orders, okay. Ms. Waldo, did you have any questions for the court?
Nope.
Okay, very good. Congratulations on finding employment, Mr. Rankin. Have a good day, sir.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and the other file, let me find this, that you have, Chad, is Barnett versus Winter.
Yes, Your Honor.
Paying party Scott Winter. This matter was scheduled for 3 o'clock. Mr. Winter is not present. So it looks like he is complying with a payment plan, but he was supposed to provide me with a VA benefits update.
Yes, Your Honor. His arrears is just his monthly obligation for the month of November. But he failed to apply the friend of the court any sort of updated documentation as far as VA benefits go.
So the goal there is to find out, is he receiving VA benefits to determine what his payment obligation should be?
Correct, Your Honor.
Well, he's not here. I could order a bench warrant based on his not appearance. What's your?
I guess I would recommend to maybe adjourn it out for a month to see if he continues to make monthly payments, his monthly obligations, before we issue the bench.
All right, I'll adjourn it out a month, but if you want to include in this order that Mr. Winter must either provide updated medical or VA benefits to the FOC before that next hearing date, or he must appear at the hearing, and if he fails to appear, a bench warrant could be issued for his arrest.
All right.
Maybe we'll get his attention that way.
All right, I will prepare this order.
Okay, thank you, Chad.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We'll see. Have a nice Thanksgiving.
You too.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
That's right.
About the other one.
The last one's a parenting time show cause. So he's not on that. Ouch. Okay, and lastly, we have Johnson versus Bradshaw. Both of the parties are present. I've got a Jacob Stinson in the file. I'm not sure why Mr. Stinson is here. Let me find out. Mr. Stinson, I don't know if you can hear me, but I don't have anything on my calendar today involving you. I'm just going to remove you from the hearing.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Okay, so we have a host of parenting time complaints by Mr. Bradshaw, and the sum total of the complaints, ma'am, it alleges that you are not complying with this court's order regarding parenting time. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the reason you're not complying is you have concerns with Mr. Bradshaw's, I don't know, is it your wife, sir, or girlfriend?
Girlfriend.
Girlfriend. My understanding of this situation is that there was briefly some CPS involvement. The CPS has essentially lifted whatever safety plan that they have in place and has not taken any action against Mr. Bradshaw or his girlfriend. Is that essentially correct, sir?
Yes.
That's not
And
correct.
Ms. You have a different understanding, Ms. Johnson? Well, let me do this.
Yes.
Let me put you under oath.
Okay.
Would you raise your right hand, please? You do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Do you acknowledge that you have not been abiding by the most recent custody and parenting time order, and that you have not been allowing your children to go see their father?
No, I have not allowed them to go back to his home. That is correct. But I have offered other ways for him to see them. I don't want them back. I don't feel comfortable with them back in the home with his live-in girlfriend because of the abuse things that are going on. And there is actually, the CPS did substantiate the evidence. They did find abuse in the home, which is why they had ongoing CPS in the home. She just has not been in front of a judge yet. Her case just got adjourned until December 19th now.
The only case I'm aware of is a criminal matter that's pending in the district court. There is no open child abuse or neglect case. And my understanding is mom has children of her own that CPS has not removed from her care.
Are you speaking about Yanessa?
Yes.
6 of her children have been removed from her care, and the son that she gave up for adoption, I think they just got him back, but that had to go through CPS as well.
Shannon, do you know if is there a neglect case in another courtroom?
What's the last name?
The mother's name is Yanessa Eubanks.
Eubanks?
Yes.
How are we spelling Yanessa?
Yienessa.
Y-I-E-N.
Yes.
Got a child abuse charge from district court,
That I'm aware of.
but I'm not showing the NA case.
And there's never been one.
Unless it was under a different last name.
I
Lewis.
can't imagine.
No, I'm not showing an NA case.
So, Mr. Bradshaw, let me put you under oath. Do you raise your right hand, please? You do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
And so does Miss Eubanks have any of her own children that are living in the same home with you and she?
Yes, we have her oldest daughter. It's not biologically mine. Her oldest daughter is 16, and then we share two kids together. And
And how
I,
old are those two children?
16, 2, and 3. And I don't know where Brianna got adoption from. Well, I can figure out where she's getting her information from, which is not true. A little background. My son, that's 3. He was with a guardianship with Yanessa's uncle, and this was in 2018. I'm sorry, 2017. He was born August 3rd. She was still married at the time. So when my son was born, I didn't have any parental rights. By default, they gave my son her husband last name. So at the time, me and Brianna was spreading apart. I had my own place, trying to figure things out. Yanessa was going through her situation with her husband at the time, abusive relationship. So she was afraid that out of despite this, her ex-husband was going to try to do something to our son. So she let her uncle and aunt raise our son until we got things taken together. So I ended the guardianship, and once I ended the guardianship, the uncle's wife had grown to attachment where she didn't want to give my son up. So after I ended the guardianship, if you notice that there hasn't been no CPS problems, there has not been not one custody complaint or parenting complaint until now, since I ended the guardianship. And in that CPS report, it was show that the guardians and Brianna has been communicating, and what they are trying to do is target Yanessa to get her out the home. And what the guardians thought that if they can get CPS in our home to show that there is something going on in our home, they can keep my son, and Brianna can get Yanessa out of the home. Brianna had never liked or really cared for Yanessa before my kids were even involved with her. And CPS have not pursued to take any action as far as removing her from the home or anything in that nature. The reason why we're going to court is from the charges that Brianna has pressed, which we are going to trial for. There's a lot of things in the CPS report that wasn't there. I understand that CPS has a limited time to figure out what's going on. I know it's a lot to take in. Um, I understand that CPS had to make a choice, and they went off of what the two little kids stated, and which I actually told CPS, in the beginning, Brianna lied and said that she had full sole custody of the kids. That's what she said to the police officer. I had to show CPS, not the detective, but um, the investigator, that she's lying, that the kids has been with me. Brianna has not been an active parent. It's always been me and Yanessa taking care of our kids. And our kids was in Georgia for 7 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, this summer, just for something to do because of the pandemic. So they're keeping them in the house. Brianna waited until the kids came back to Michigan. They was in Georgia with my parents to stage the CPS the situation here. If you look at the CPS reports, my oldest daughter is telling the CPS that that didn't happen. Yanessa does not put her hands on any of our kids. And I can show you text message of Brianna just out of the blue saying, "Thank you for taking care of our kids. I don't know what you would do, or I don't know what I would do if I wouldn't have you." So with that compliment being said, how is it that I'm such a good person, good parent, but yet leave my kids in a environment where they are being abused? And also, which is not in the CPS report, as I stated, I have cameras in my home. Before I left to see or left to go get my son from the guardians, my kids, they always give me a hug when I walk into the door, give me hugs and kisses, and when I walk out, they give me a hug and kisses. My son didn't show any sign of his arm hurting. He never said anything to me that his arm was hurting. But if you see the pictures, Brianna waited until the next day. She had my kids for 24 hours. And the pictures show, my son's arm swelling up with bruising, swells on his back. And you can see that the bruising on his back are fresh. Now, she made it seem to the police officer that she picked our kids up that day and took them to the hospital, which is not true. So all of this will be, we'll be able to present our case once we go to trial, whenever, the courts are able to open up. But I understand CPS had to make a choice. I'm not upset at what CPS have done at all. I mean, I know it's a lot to take in within 2 weeks. And they interviewed the kids on the Thursday. We got our interview Friday, so we couldn't really defend ourselves and tell them what everything is going on. But it's for us. We understand what was going on because right when I ended the guardianship, all of a sudden CPS just start coming to our homes left and right. The guardians was putting scratches on our son, and then later calling the police on us. If it wasn't for me taking pictures of my son before they was going back, it probably would have seemed like our kids are being abused. But I'm glad that I took pictures and documented and showed that to CPS and said, hey, this is what's really was going on. Unfortunately, they can't go back and change or look more into it. So now we're going to trial, and with the information that we have, the documents that we have, we'll be able to show that our kids, me and Brownie kids, and the kids that we have with UNESA are very happy in my home. There.
So let me
Go ahead.
let me stop you. I have lots of questions for you. You keep making references to the CPS report. I don't have a copy of that.
I understand that.
Do you have a copy?
I do.
Who was the CPS investigator?
Deborah Hoffman.
My understanding was after when they started their investigation, they implemented a safety plan moving the children you have with Ms. Johnson into her care. Is that correct?
No, that's not what was told to me. My understanding was Deborah was on understanding that Brianna has sole physical custody of the kids, so she asked me not to go get them. And then later that week, I explained to her, I said, you do know that I have sole physical custody of the kids? She said, no, you don't. Then she said it was 50-50. I said, no, I have sole physical custody of the kids. Would you like a copy of it? So then she said, no, I will request to get my own copy. And then she corrected herself, and the report shows that I have sole physical custody of the kids. But in the beginning of the report, it will show that Brianna stated that she has sole physical custody of the kids, and the kids was visiting my home.
The issue of who has custody, I don't need to hear from CPS because I've got the custody file. Mm-hmm. What I'm asking you is, did CPS direct that the children should stay in Ms. Johnson's care until they finish their investigation?
Yes, they did.
Okay. And at some point, did they lift that requirement?
Yes, sir.
Is that reflected in the CPS report?
It doesn't say bluntly. I have to go back and read it because I was talking to the caseworker supervisor, because she was going to the schools and saying that there was a no contact order, which it wasn't at the time, to keep me from getting my kids. And then she changed it to the kids doing online, so they didn't have to show up to school. I actually had my son was going to young K5. It was be his first year going to school. And then I had our youngest daughter was going to school for 2 days out of the week. And then our oldest daughter was going to school 2 days out of the week. And Brianna Johnson changed that. I don't know when she changed it, but she changed that where it was online, so I couldn't get the kids.
How many children do you and Ms. Johnson have together?
3.
Give me their names and their ages.
Cassidy is Kasidi. He's 4. Ayana is Jionah. She's 6. And Samari is Samarii. She's 12.
And the last time these children were with you was when?
July 23rd was the last time I seen them.
Have you had any contact with them since then?
Only my oldest daughter through text message.
That's not true.
At any time, did CPS act to remove from your care the 2 children that you share with Yanessa or
No.
her 16-year-old daughter?
No, not at
No,
all.
but there's 6 other kids that have been taken from her.
Do you know anything about these 6 other children that Ms. Johnson keeps mentioning?
I know of her 6 kids, yes, but them being taken away from her, no. They're not been taken away. We have an issue with the dad not letting the kids see Yanessa. As far as I know, there's no court order, no documents that I have seen where the kids been taken away.
Has Yanessa been a lifelong Jackson County resident?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson, I know you've said this a couple of times. If those children were taken from her, there would be a CPS case. There would be a child neglect case.
There is another last
county.
name that she used to go by.
What was that?
Lewis. She was married.
All right, hold on a minute. Lewis?
Yes.
Let me check that. No?
No, hang on.
Hold on, she's looking still. Sorry. I thought you said no.
There was a Rapley case in 2015.
All right, there is a file. Here's what I'm going to do. I want to get that file and review it. I want to get this CPS report, and I want to have testimony from Deborah Hoffman. I want to hear from everybody before I make any decision. I'm going to try to do this as quickly as I can, Mr. Bradshaw. I understand you've not had parenting time with your children for a long time. I intend to get to the bottom of this. If I conclude that Ms. Eubanks is not a threat to your children, I'm going to take immediate steps to make sure you get your children.
Okay, one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
I'm sorry. I heard her say Judge Rapley. That judge is the judge that we had for my son that was in guardianship. If it says Kylan Bradshaw.
She's also the judge that presided over Ms. Eubanks' case when her name was Lewis.
Okay.
So you have a copy of this CPS report, Mr. Bradshaw?
Yes.
I want you to make a copy of that, and I want you to mail it to my secretary here at the courthouse. Her name is Dawn Sherwood.
Okay. Will it be easier for me to email it to her? I have a fax machine.
You have a digital copy of it that you can email?
My fax machine, I can copy it and then it will send it to my email, and then I can send it to her that way.
Oh, okay. Yes, you can do that. You can scan it and email it. Send it to D.
Oh,
Sherwood.
Hold on, I gotta write it down. I do have your court officer email.
God, Peter Velkamp?
Yes.
You could send it to him. That works.
Okay.
Once I get that, I will arrange for the next hearing date, and it will be soon. I'm going to make arrangements so that the CPS worker can actually testify so I can hear firsthand. And I'll make a decision after I have a chance to hear those things.
Okay. And also the last hearing, I didn't know what was going on with the PPO with my oldest daughter. I do want to state that I have read what the PPO stated for my oldest daughter, and I can tell you that my oldest daughter did not write that. I can guarantee you that my daughter doesn't know what a PPO is. In the beginning of the CPS case, it was Rihanna Johnson that told my oldest daughter that she doesn't want my oldest daughter to talk to Yanessa. So if my kids or if my oldest daughter felt that she was any threat, there wouldn't be no need for her to tell her not to talk to her. And
Who is your oldest daughter?
Samari Bradshaw,
Oh,
Samari
okay.
Caper. Yeah.
And this was a PPO against Yanessa.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. All right. We will, as soon as I get that police or that CPS report, I will review it. I will make arrangements for a hearing where that worker can be available to testify. We will notify you and we will continue this hearing on that day.
I do have a question. My children were already interviewed by the Child Advocacy Center. Are those interviews going to be used, or are they going to be re-interviewed again by somebody else? Because
they don't typically re-interview children once they've done a CAC interview.
That's what I was hoping for.
Are the CAC interviews referenced in the CPS report?
I hope so. It's all tied together. They went to the Child Advocacy Center, and that's where all of their interviews and everything were done. I was hoping that we wouldn't have to go through re-interviewing the kids. They're just now getting to the place where they're comfortable enough to even talk about just anything that's happened. So
there's no reason to re-interview them.
Okay.
Whether or not they're witnesses who will have to testify at this district court proceeding, I can't answer that. That's going to be up to the judge presiding over that case. That's not for me.
Correct.
But typically, what would happen is the younger children, Cassidy and
Ayana,
wouldn't even have to testify. The court can rely on whatever statements they made at the interview. The 12-year-old is a different story.
Correct.
Her statements at the interview would not be admissible, so they would have to, if they want her statements, she would have to testify.
Okay.
And that's the thing I was pointing out. So like I told the CPS or the the caseworker, Deborah, that Brianna is very good at influencing the kids to say certain things. And in the police report and in the CPS report, Brianna is stating one thing, and then when they question the kids did say, yes, Yanessa hit me, but their story was completely different from what Brianna is stating.
So you also have a completed police report?
Yes.
Can you also email that to Peter?
Yes, I will.
Okay, as soon as I get those, I will review them. Once I determine whether or not there's anyone else who needs to testify, I will set the next hearing. I will set it very quickly. I want to get to the bottom of this quickly.
I was gonna say, would you also want the camera footage too?
What's shown on the camera footage?
My son playing with his trucks, jumping on the couch, watching TV, me seeing my son as I walked into the door and me walking out the house and seeing my son before I walk out the house.
Was that video on a day when it's alleged that some kind of abuse occurred?
Yes.
Yes. That's something you could actually play when we have our next hearing. Do you have that on
Okay.
your phone, or do you have it on a device?
I have it on a hard drive, but I can play it on my TV and turn the camera around so you can see it on my TV.
Actually, if you look somewhere on the screen that you're talking to me on, there is the ability to share the screen. Do you see a command for that? On my screen, it's down at the bottom.
I'm using my phone and I do not see that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if this is a feature that's available on a phone, but yes, if you can play it on a separate DVD and just point the camera at it, that will work. You can introduce it in that way.
Yeah. And then this is going to show in the CPS report that Deborah only asked was there's a camera in the room that allegedly took place. And no, there isn't. That doesn't mean that it took place. But how do you, if you look at the pictures of the incident that happened to my son, how do you do that to a child? But yet my son is on camera the whole time and he's playing with his trucks and watching TV. That was the point that I was trying to get to with Deborah. But my understanding, I've seen the report, she didn't view the footage.
Okay. Yes, just have that available. And Ms. Johnson, if there's other evidence that you have, you could certainly have that available at the next hearing.
Okay. And then my only other question was at the last court hearing, she said something about possibly calling people as a witness. I don't know if I need to add them to a list now, but I would also like to call Yanessa and her oldest daughter as a witness to the abuse that her oldest daughter has taken and seen happen to my kids in their home.
You can certainly ask for a subpoena.
Yes.
It has to be presented to me for signature. Mr. Bradshaw, you have that same ability. You wouldn't get a subpoena issued until I give you the new hearing date.
Correct.
Once you know what the new hearing date is, you can request a subpoena. They normally require you to prepare it, and then it gets submitted to me for signature. And then it's incumbent upon you to have it served.
Okay.
But that's the procedure. And I'll set this at a time when I will have time to listen to your testimony.
Perfect.
I was hoping this would happen in front of the court. I don't know why they chose not to do it, but I'll just do it. It'll be quicker that way.
I think it was because there were I had a felony warrant for my arrest for parental kidnapping, so it's just gone way too far.
Well, no. When we was at the FOC, the lawyer to interview the kids, I guess he had got the notice late and didn't interview the kids as you ordered. That's what she couldn't go any further.
I got you. Well, I'm just going to do it myself. That way we'll get to the bottom of it sooner. You'll receive a notice of that hearing date.